when you have one partner that is a little bit more math oriented, or one partner that's a little bit better at the linguistics of math.
Yeah.
Math and calculations are so deeply important to reverse engineering a realistic pipeline of efforts to be able to accumulate towards achieving that goal.
So the point that I'm making here is that whichever partner is less future oriented is going to be uncomfortable, and that's where the courage comes in. All right, so get clear. Who, what, when, where, why. What do you want to achieve? Let's keep it simple. What do you want to achieve? Next is get calculated. Get calculated is the hard part. I'm not even sure I'm good at explaining this.
Conscious couples, business partners, and singles committed to attracting their dream partner. Welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and combined relationship expertise to help you create and consistently cultivate the most magnificent, intimate relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching conscious couples and individuals all over the world, as well as starting and growing a global business together, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and individuals, welcome back to the one and only Conscious Couples podcast. Today we have a very special episode for you, episode 150.
Whoop.
My goodness. How to start 2025 off on the same page. This podcast is all about growing together, not apart. How do you start off the new year right? I know a lot of people are thinking about reflecting on 2024, getting into 2025. Before we jump into this episode, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you, as always, to Next Level Podcast Solutions for producing this show. And we work with, directly and indirectly, 65 podcasters between Next Level Podcast Solutions and Group Coaching, who just graduated. Shout out to Group 16 of Next Level Group Coaching. As always, my love. Ladies first, what is your intention for today's episode?
So my intention for today's episode is for anyone that's joining this podcast and listening in, we help them have 3 focal points that will help them and their partner get on the same page so that they feel not only excited for 2025, but not the same type of excitement that everyone else, when they do New Year's resolutions, it fizzles out. I want this to be an excitement that builds, knowing that it's going to be more sustainable and it's not going to fizzle out.
So last night, was that last night?
It was last night, but the time that we launched this episode, though, it will have been the Thursday prior to the release.
Okay, so last Thursday, if you're listening to this on the Monday when it releases, so it's Friday night tonight, so last night we did our Relationship Talks virtual event. And there were 3 C's that we presented. But before we get into that, we want to celebrate our clients, Hannah and Brandon, who just the amount they've accomplished together in the last couple of years, I'm trying to get the order right of what they've done. They got engaged. They bought a home together. They are planning a wedding. Hannah had a whole new career. She's now the GM of a pet store. They had a huge engagement party as well. And so we started off the event, and they were our warriors. A warrior at our event, if you haven't been, is someone who goes into battle first. It's someone who leads by example. And they come and they talk about their experience.
Mm-hmm.
Sweetheart, you're in the moment right now. I love it. So Brandon and Hannah were our warriors, and Brandon showed up literally from work. He said, I stayed late just for this. Thank you so much. And we started off with a bunch of photographs. And it was the photograph of them getting engaged in Ireland.
It was Germany.
Germany. And then a photograph of, and then a photograph of them at their engagement party.
Hannah,
photograph of them in front of their new home. Photograph of them, Hannah trying on a dress for the wedding they're planning, all this different stuff. And then the next slide was an iceberg. And the top with an arrow pointing A to the top of the iceberg, results. And then B pointing to the bottom of the iceberg, which is all the things that were required in order to create those results. So the results are great. The photos are great. We love it. Awesome. Way to go, Hannah and Brandon. What what no one knew and what we were trying to explain is that Brandon and Hannah have been the most consistent clients for Relationship Talks coaching, where what you don't see, you see all the photos, you see all the accomplishments. They've achieved more in 2 years than most people do in 5 or even more than that. But what you don't see is every other Saturday for an hour, me, Emilia, Hannah, and Brandon, Saturday mornings for basically 2 years, which is 26 weeks a year times 2. So you're looking at 52 sessions working on your life instead of just in your life. And so Emilia and I wanted to do an event recap. Number 1, celebrate Brandon and Hannah. Number 2, remind everybody that 2025 is not just going to work out.
Yeah.
It needs to be by design. What is the beneath the iceberg? And this is the 3 C's that Emilia and I came up with, and we may or may not have been in the line waiting for Qdoba when we came up with this.
So it was actually really cool to hear Brandon say that, Hannah and I, when we first started out, it's not like we had all the answers. And I quote, I'm a pretty regular guy. And it was like really sweet and really humble. And he's like, we're not like Alan and Emilia, where every single second of our time is strategized, is calculated, is defined to the extent that you and I have. And I appreciated him saying that because of the fact that when people will see us or when they hear us talk about some of the things that we do talk about, it really acknowledges how quickly that can get overwhelming because of the comparison set, right? Oh, well, we don't have a house. Oh, we're not engaged. And so immediately the brain can turn off. But by him saying that, I think it really highlighted a really necessary conversation, or a necessary element around goal setting and around especially getting on the same page as a partner or with your partner, which is you don't have to be all this put together or whatever. You don't have to be anything to get on the same page and to get started and to apply these 3 C's that we're going to be talking about. And so long as you have courage, vulnerability, and humility, you have the ability to be able to build over time and strategize your life where you and your partner can really get on the same page. He had said, Hannah's the one who wants these things. She's the one that wanted to travel. She's the one that wanted the house. She wanted all these things, right? She was the partner between the two of us that wanted these things in our life. And so I was always the one, this was Brandon saying, who was like, okay, well, you want a dog, who's going to walk the dog? So his practicality, I think, is such a testament to so many partners that will listen to this podcast, because usually there's one partner that has that vision, that has that awareness around what it is that they don't have in their life. And thus that awareness is what cultivates the desire to go and get. And when it comes to 2025 and anyone listening to this podcast, think about your 2025. Think about what you don't have in your life right now, but you feel a desire, you feel pulled to go get it. Maybe it's travel. Maybe it is that you want to get engaged with your partner. Maybe it is that you want to have a family. Whatever that is, you don't currently have it, and that creates the desire, which is what Brandon and Hannah had, a desire to go and have and apply the 3 C's that we're going to talk about. That is where, when you actually achieve those goals in 2025, you'll snap a picture, you'll have a memory, but it's that overarching goal, that desire, that actually contributes to. Apologies, that's the alarm for the babies going off.
Fur babies.
Our fur babies. When you have that desire, it's going to create the pillars of ultimately what it is that we're talking about in this episode, which is the necessity to get on the same page. If Hannah wanted a dog but didn't want to walk the dog, then how much would Brandon and Hannah be on the same page to be able to make not only that goal come true, but also have it be a meaningful, enviable memory when they do get the puppy and they snap it and they post it, right? When you look at your 2025, what is that thing, that memory that you and your partner really want to co-create that makes you guys really proud looking back at? Because when Brandon was at the event, but looking back, Brandon was so uncomfortable seeing all of the accomplishments actually be talked about, because he was more of that person of how the heck are we going to go and do this?
Well, you had a moment too, even with all the photos, because I had put it in the presentation. You were like, wow, they really did achieve a lot in a very short time.
Yeah.
And everyone is capable of doing that. Let's go into how. All right. So
yeah.
The 3 C's are, number 1 is clear. Get clear. Number 2 is get calculated. So clear and calculated. And the last one is get courageous. I think that all of us are good at probably one of the 3. Get clear, get calculated, get courageous. Get clear is what do you actually want to achieve in 2025. Now here's the key, and this is the exercise that everyone can do. And I playfully joked in the event. I said, Emilia each year kind of has to basically glue me to a chair in front of the whiteboard to get this visioneering done, because we're so busy working in our life. Sometimes we don't work on our life. And I've always thanked you later, because Emilia will say things behind the scenes. I'll pull back the curtain here for a second. She'll say, sometimes I feel like we're working on other people's lives more than our own. And she'll say, the most important thing is that you and I sit down and we visioneer our future. She doesn't use the word visioneering necessarily, but let's get the vision out. So we recently, I don't know how recently this was, 9 months ago, something like that, maybe a year ago. Yeah, it might have actually been at the end of 2023 where you and I went through the whole decade. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to unpack the year, but we mapped out on the whiteboard. We have a big whiteboard in our house. It's Emilia's. It's unbelievable. It's the best addition to our house, hands down. I mean, there's nothing better in our house. I mean, the projector is great, and it's probably my favorite, but the whiteboard is unbelievable. And so we mapped out the next decade step by step by step by step. 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So we're only going to keep it to 1 year here. But that, you and I being on the same page. Okay, we want to get engaged. Okay, we want to get married. Okay, we want to move. Okay, we want to have children. Okay, how many? When? What color? I'm kidding. I knew you'd love that. But no, the truth is who, what, when, where, why. Get clear. So sit down with your partner and actually have this conversation. What do you want to achieve in 2025? Let your partner go, and then you tell what you want to achieve. Don't have it be 500 things. I would say keep it to your top 3. What are the 3 biggest accomplishments that you each, we talk about the me and then the we. Top 3 achievements in 2025 for the me. Top 3 achievements for your partner in 2025, and then figure out how you're going to integrate those, and then top 3 for the we. And that's getting clear. The next piece is get calculated.
Before you move forward, can I interject on something right there? A lot of people have a difficult time, you and I have come to learn, a difficult time thinking beyond the day, thinking beyond the week, thinking beyond the month, not to mention the year. And that is why we really highlight, like, what right now in your life dissatisfies you? What right now do you want to be something that, if you were to do a guided meditation and you were to be at the end of 2025, listening to this right now, imagine yourself in the boots of that future version of yourself. What would he be proud of? What would you guys be proud of and be like, holy crap, I'm so proud of what we did together. If you can do that, that is awesome. But if not, it's a great exercise to zoom into or have a guided meditation that actually helps to cultivate that mindset, because so many people do struggle thinking out,
I did this with a client recently behind the scenes. I had her close her eyes. We did a little meditation. I said, okay, envision yourself a week out. She said, good. I said, okay, now 2 weeks. She said, good. And then we went out a month, and she said, it's getting blurry.
Yeah.
So they hooked people up to fMRI machines, and they found out that a certain percentage of the population is capable of thinking 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, even beyond their own lifetime at times. And most people, the majority of the population, is not capable of visualizing themselves. They have to visualize a stranger. And if that's the case, if that's you, at least you'll figure that out. One of the partners in every relationship, 24/7, 365, always, every situation, one of the partners is more future-oriented. Always. And one of the partners can probably think more long-term. I'm thinking of a couple anonymously right now in my head. He's frustrated because he feels like all the responsibility is on him because he can think so far ahead, and his partner just can't. She thinks day to day. She gets overwhelmed the moment they even plan something 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
And so the point that I'm making here is that whichever partner is less future-oriented is going to be uncomfortable, and that's where the courage comes in.
Hi everybody, I'm Caleb, and this is my beautiful wife, Angela. We're pretty new clients to Alan and Emilia and their conscious couples coaching.
Yeah, I think we started back in early 2022, around February, and our relationship has completely shifted in a few short months.
I think one of the biggest takeaways from working with them was our communication, which I believe is an obstacle for most couples. I was talking to Ange in a way that I would understand, but it wouldn't connect to her, which caused some arguments. But Alan and Amelia were able to point that out, and now I can talk to her how she's going to understand. She can do the same for me.
Yes, our communication is way better than it's ever been. We've been together for about 6 years now, and as well as just really figuring out what our core values personally are, but as well as what they are in our relationship. So being able to communicate from that space is really valuable. So thank you, Alan and Amelia, for everything you've done and for leading the way.
All right, so get clear. Who, what, when, where, why. What do you want to achieve? Let's keep it simple. What do you want to achieve? Next is get calculated. Get calculated is the hard part. I'm not even sure I'm good at explaining this. But with Brandon and Hannah, for example, it was, okay, what range are you looking at for houses? They said, oh, okay, 350. Awesome.
First, we started with square footage before we went into range, the budget.
No, we didn't.
Are you sure?
Hannah was already looking at a certain range, and she was looking lower than what I think they could afford. Yeah, we went into square footage after that, but she was already looking at a certain price range.
Gotcha.
I
Yes.
think, okay.
Yes.
She was already looking at a certain price range. Let's just make it simple. Okay. So let's say you want a $400,000 home. Awesome. Okay. Now, what would be the mortgage payment of that? Now you have to break that down. And then what would be the cost? You can Google all of this. All of this you can look up and get at least a guesstimate. What would be the down payment? How much are you putting down? And this is where, again, relationship talks coaching is much more useful. I do this for a living. Business coaching is all reverse engineering finish lines. Set the goal. What are the metrics and habits necessary to achieve the goal? What do you have to measure to stay on track? How do you measure? And so without getting too esoteric here, sit down with your partner. What do you want to achieve? And then make it measurable. So, for example, Emilia and I, we want to exercise every day in 2025 for at least 45 minutes per day. So we have on our whiteboard a streak that we've been doing since March 1st of 2022, and it says 1,025 days as of today. We want to do that throughout 2025, but we're also keeping each other accountable because it's somewhere you can see it. And the thing that I say to my clients is make sure that the measurement is somewhere where you're going to see it every single day. Some people track habits and they have a habit tracker that they're in the habit of tracking every single day. If you have a whiteboard, that's probably the best thing. There's something about going to the whiteboard first thing in the morning and then changing that number that it reorients your entire life around what you focus on. And so what do you want to add about get calculated?
Based off of observation, a lot of people think, I literally have a sentiment echoing in my head of like, oh, she's so calculated. Like almost as if it's like a cold, hard, harsh edges, sharp corners kind of thing. And that's such a sentiment that follows people around, and the negative connotation that is usually paired with calculations has to do with a lot of people's trauma around math and their experiences when it comes to all of the failed attempts that they had in pursuit of a goal. And so I just want to be mindful and call that elephant out in the room. While we might not be consciously aware of that when we say the get calculated, there is more, I would say, probability at play where our unconscious, when we even hear Alan talk about the like get calculated, and from that standpoint, like there's likely a part that gets triggered around this and almost feels hopeless and helpless because we don't know, or a large majority of us don't know how to calculate what specific metric. What is the biggest metric that is going to have the biggest effect, or what is the numbers that we need to keep a keen eye on that can guarantee our success. That's one thing that Brandon had mentioned in the event, which was like, I don't know necessarily how to calculate this. This is where I came to RTC, and I'm so grateful because it feels like this was something so powerful. He said, no matter what challenge I now have in life, or Hannah and I have in life, I now know because of RTC that everything is figure outable. I can just turn towards Alan and Amelia, and no matter what, we're going to be okay because of the fact that you and I are extremely good at this.
Well, he said that any problem that I have, I'm going to go to relationship talks coaching with it, and I know it'll be solved. And that was his exact words, and we
Awesome.
did not ask him to say any of this. The truth of the matter is that problem solving, root cause analysis, and then problem solving is just a skill. And I do this every day with clients. I have 28 clients, 37 people that I coach, 37 individuals that I coach, and all of them, I did this literally earlier today. And we set up her goals for 2025. We broke them down into quarters, and then Q1 of 2025 is 90 days. April 1st is the end of it. And then we broke it into her top 3 priorities, and then there's one most important metric under each priority. It's neither here nor there.
So in this, babe,
yeah.
So anyone listening to this, like, Alan speaks first language math. Okay, so like obviously the way in which he thinks is in quarters, and it will obviously make it 90 days, and like just go to that. That's what I love about you, honey. And I also recognize that most people, when they hear the word calculations or even think about doing that exercise, their unconscious will freak out and avoid it. And that's what prevents so many people, especially couples, getting on the same page. Because what happens when you have one partner that is a little bit more math oriented, or one partner that's a little bit better at the linguistics of math?
Yeah.
Math and calculations are so deeply important to reverse engineering a realistic pipeline of efforts to be able to accumulate towards achieving that goal.
Yeah. Okay, so there's 52 weeks a year, and a good way to start would be, how much would you need to save each week to get to the down payment number? So whatever your down payment is for whatever that home would be, this is just an example, divide that by 52, and then divide that by 2, because you have obviously 2 partners. Yeah, it's a whole thing. All right,
this is why RTC
reach out. Yeah, relationship
exists.
talks coaching is literally this. It's
so much fun.
It's I don't know if people would consider it fun. I do. And
we have fun.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you and your partner not only will get to the root cause of why you might be struggling with trust or communication or vulnerability or humility or courage or whatever it is, but you'll also achieve your dreams together.
Right.
That's more of what the difference between relationship talks coaching is. And I know a lot of our couples that we've coached have said that this is so much better than counseling. We've tried counseling so many times, and this is so much better. What makes it better, I think, is this visioneering that we do of taking your vision, reverse engineering it, and then helping you stay on track bi-weekly, weekly, or monthly to make sure that you actually do manifest your goals and dreams. And I got to say this too, as vulnerable as this is for me, I've been doing this my entire life. I've never not reverse engineered finish lines. Anything I wanted to achieve, I would just go into the future, calculate the numbers, reverse engineer it. I mean, I literally I intended on being with someone like Emilia before I ever found Emilia. Yeah. And that I that's just who I am, and that's who you are too, and that's a skill. So
it is.
Come to us for help. We adore this work. It's our favorite work in the world. Coaching is my favorite thing on planet Earth, and helping you achieve your goals and dreams is too. Right. That said, if you do want to get started, sit down with your partner, figure out what you want to achieve in 2025, at least start there. And then when it comes to get calculated, pick at least one measurement. So for example, if you want to lose 10 pounds, you would weigh yourself daily. That's a perfect example. Let's move on to get courageous, because that's the one that I struggle with most.
Yeah. So getting courageous, once you have the clarity, once you have it, and it doesn't have to be 100% clarity. Again, just get yourself to 80%, right? Then you have the calculations, you have the metric, you have the system, you have to put it on the whiteboard, put it on your fridge, whatever, right? Then it comes to get courageous. In this frame of the event, we had said, when X, I need Y. And essentially that is a format to acknowledge that when you have a goal, or when you and your partner want to get on the same page, you're kind of acknowledging the fact that the me has a goal, so does the other me, and the we will combine to make that goal happen. And here's the thing, when you're striving towards achieving goals, there is support that's going to be needed from your partner, right? So for example, if I am trying to exercise every single day for the rest of my life.
I just want to jump in real quick. So I'm going to make these 3 C's as simple as humanly possible with the example that we used in the event. Okay, real quick, and then I want you to jump back in.
Okay.
Get clear. For 2025, Emilia and I intend on working out for 45 minutes per day, every day for 365 days straight. Okay, that's get clear.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how clear that is. Exercise can be sports. It can be swimming, basketball, soccer. It can be weight training. It can be
Cartwheels.
walking our dog. It cannot be cartwheels.
Hiking.
But some
Yeah.
form of movement every single day
Mm-hmm.
for 45 minutes a day for 365 days. That's a lot of clarity. Okay, that's step 1 done.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is get calculated. How are we going to actually do that? We are going to make sure that we are 2 minutes away from our gym. On the weekends, there's another gym that we love at 146. We're also going to make sure we have a dog park near us. We also walk in our neighborhood when we really can't get there.
Mm-hmm.
The last one is get courageous. Get courageous, I ask Emilia for support. She asks me for support. What I've asked her for support on is, babe, tonight, for example, it's 7:29. I do not want to go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I do not. I can't effing stand the fact that we're going to go to the gym after this. However, I've asked Emilia in advance to help me what we call hold the line.
Mm-hmm.
We have it on the whiteboard downstairs that we're supposed to do legs tonight in the gym. I don't want to go. But Emilia has really helped hold the line because I've asked her in advance to help me hold the line. So that's what support looks like, okay? So number 1 is get clear. Number 2 is get calculated. Number 3 is get courageous. And courageous means, sweetheart, I need you to help me stay in alignment. And I need you to also step up and keep us in alignment too, because it can't be just me doing this.
Mm.
And fitness in the past has been more me, and Emilia has really stepped up and really held the line even more than me lately, which I really appreciate. And so that's really a courageous conversation of, I need your support on this because I'm not going to be able to exercise every single day in 2025 without my partner. The lights are literally turning off on us, so we have to go
AKA
soon.
the boundaries.
Yes.
We're going to keep rolling
Okay.
because I think that this is really important.
Okay.
Despite the fact
So
that we don't have our background.
Let's,
It's all good.
That's okay. Let's wrap this in a bow and let's
Yes.
go to the gym.
So why is that courageous? It's courageous because Alan is admitting to the fact that he cannot reach his goals without my support. And that is what a humble, vulnerable, courageous man would say and would have to acknowledge in order for him to reach his goals. With the support of his partner, his vulnerable, courageous, and humble partner will see that as a strength. So for example, when I am overwhelmed, when I am struggling late at night to stay consistent, to really get excited for my goals, when I am hating and despising going to the gym, support for me courageously sounds like, Alan, we got this. We're going to hold the line. I got this. I'll drive, babe. I'll drive. You can drive home. What it doesn't sound like, or what it isn't when I am struggling, support doesn't look or sound like to me like, babe, it's totally fine, let you off the hook, etc.,
Yes,
etc.
exactly.
And so it's courageous because we acknowledge this in the event. Very few people will ultimately reach their goals because of the fact that that takes a lot of courage to be able to say, hey, I am going to struggle and I might not be able to reach this goal in my own accord and I need your help. And to be vulnerable and courageous with that, when I am struggling, I need from you support. That it takes so much courage, especially if you have a history of so many people giving you shit for trying to get after your goals, or if you have a history of people who just completely invalidate your needs or make it a big ordeal for you to ask anything in terms of support from them, which you and I both have. So with that being said, get clear, get calculated, and get courageous. And speaking of get courageous, if this is something that you or your partner struggle with, you recognize that, oh, I have all these needs, but I realize I just put everything on my back. I put everything on my back and I never ask my partner for support. I struggle doing that. Our next event is going to be digging into all of this, all the strategies, all the tactics that you and I have used, the techniques that we have deployed to help both of our courage go up. And so if you're listening to this episode, you struggle in any of these arenas, definitely book an RTC call. But we invite you to the first Relationship Talks event that will be happening in 2025. So not only will you two be on the same page based on this, but you can then amp up that freaking courage so that you guys can continue to stay on the tracks and accomplish your goals together.
So here's a tangible example of courage that Brandon used in the event. He said, Hannah and I were saving for the home, and I had to bring up that there were certain things that she was falling off track when I wasn't. I was so scared. I didn't want her to feel bad. But the truth is that he had to have the courage to say, okay, we had this plan. Now I have to have the courage to hold us accountable to the plan, and I know that can be difficult. And Emilia and I do that with each other all the times. And sometimes you have to put your goals above the comfort of your partner at the time. And I always say, be the pain in the ass that you'll thank one day. I tell my clients that all the time. I will be the pain in the ass that you thank one day. Because the truth is, it is easier to skip the gym. It is easier to skip the savings plan. It is easier to not check the whiteboard. It is easier to not update the metrics. But that's not what your future self really wants. And we care more about your potential and your future self than we do about your feelings in the moment sometimes. And I think that that's really, really, really important. So if you want two people in your corner who are going to hold you accountable to your higher self, hold you accountable to your true potential, hold you accountable to your goals and dreams, that is Emilia and I. Please book in the show notes. And as always, we appreciate you. Thank you for listening. It's not about you or me. It's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone. Happy 2024. Stay safe out there.
2025.
Happy 2024. Very exciting 2025 coming up. Same thing. Happy
New
lucky.
Year soon.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please make sure you follow us on Instagram. I am at Evolve with Emilia, and Alan is alazarus88.
Also, if you or your partner resonated with this episode, leave us a review at the link in the show notes, and please share this with someone you love and care about.
Until next time, remember, it's not about you or me. It's about
the we.